Hello and welcome to part 10 on how to build a file manager for Android. Today we will learn how we can rename files and folders. So if you remember previous time we fixed some bugs, we spent kind of some time fixing bugs, but now it works kind of great, so it was worth it. So now we will rename the files. For that, when we long click a file, we want here to appear the rename option. So to do that, we will go to our Android Studio IDE layout1.xml, and we will go back right to the bottom, and right here in the second button we will change it to, instead of v2, we will change it to rename. Okay, and the text will be rename. We will run the application to see if it's looking as we expected. Okay, we're compiling it. We have something here. We will delete these buttons right now because we are not using them anyway. Okay, and we'll go and run the app again. As you can see, here's the app, and if I long click on an element, we have the rename option. Now we have delete, rename, and we have three more empty, three more columns empty, which we don't really need three. We maybe need one for copying and one for cutting, but we don't need the other one, so we can delete one, so that will enable us to have better readability. So we go and delete B5, and we will run the app again, and we will check if everything is working fine. So we long click, and now the rename word actually fits, which is awesome. Okay, so we go to our main activity.java file in our onResume method right here, and we will check for, and we create the rename action. So we go to the bottom of it. Before is file manager initialized, and here we go and say final button, and this is rename button. So rename button, and that will be assigned to find view by id r.id that rename button, just rename, we name it. And now we're gonna say set the listener rename button that set on click listener new on click listener, and inside it we can now set and create our rename process. So if the user taps this button, we first of all have to know or show the button only if the selected elements are 1, because we don't really want to rename more than one at a time. We don't really want to do that. So we go to our layout1.xml file, and we will actually hide this rename button. To hide it, we set the visibility elements to gone. Okay, so it's hidden. Great. Now when we press a long click, we have to know if we need to show or not. Okay, on the long click, we go and the list view on long click listener. Right here, as you can see, we are showing this, and we here at least one selected. Okay, so here we will check if the number of the items that are selected. Okay, so right now we will go and say if, okay, we have to know if we have one item selected or more than one item selected. Okay. The selection we have, so this selection thing right here may be useful for us. Okay. Maybe we can introduce a variable right here, an int selection count, which will be 0. And when something is selected right here, we will don't do this, but instead we will say selection count plus plus, and we can delete this boolean, which is at least one selected. Okay, we can delete this, and instead of that check, we will check something else, which is if selection count is greater than 0. Okay, we will do this, and inside this we will check if selection count is equal to 1. This means we have one item selected, and in that case we're going to say find view by id r.id dot rename, or yes, we can do this, and we'll go and say set visibility visible. If the selection count is not 1, which means more than 1, we will set the rename button to gone. Okay, so set visibility view gone. So that's great, and it's just what we need. Right now, here in the rename thing, we will first run the app and check that everything is working fine. I mean, if the rename button is shown only when it has to. So if we long click this, the rename button is shown, and if I long click this, the rename button disappears. Again, if I unselect one, it's shown again, which is awesome. Okay, worked at first try, which is great. So now when we click on rename, we have to do something right here. Of course, we will create a dialog for that, in which we will ask the new name for the file. For that, we will say final alert dialog dot builder, okay, and we will call it rename dialog, and we will assign that to new alert dialog that builder main activity that this, which is our current context. Okay, great. Now we are setting the title. For that, we go and say rename dialog that set title, and the title of this will be rename. Okay, rename, or maybe we can actually rename to, which is better as user experience. And then we will create edit text, so final edit text. So final edit text right here, and this will be called input, and this will be new edit text main activity that this, which is our context. Okay, great. Now we have to kind of know the name of the current file. For that, we will set the edit text to the current name. Okay, so we will say input that set text. Okay, and we will get the file, the current file, which is the selected file. Okay, but how do we know which file was selected? So we know that one file is selected, but we don't really know which file is selected. Okay, so we can, the easy kind of dirty way of doing this is finding which file is selected. So we go back to the method in where we use to actually select the file, which is the long thing right here. If selection count right now, here the selection count actually contains the selected file. Not really. Okay, but here the position contains the kind of the selection, right? The position right here contains the selection. Okay, so we can create a global variable to make these very easy to complete, which we'll say private int selected item index. Okay, and here when we show the rename button on the long click listener right here, where it is, on long click listener here. Okay, when we show the rename button here, we will save also the position. So selected item index will be equal to position. Okay, that's great. Now when we are calling the rename button right here, we know the name of our file, and in order for us to get the name, we can say, maybe we can use the adapter, or we can use the files, or whatever the case may be. For example, if we use the adapter, we're going to say text adapter 1 dot get item at selected item index. Now we will go and inspect if everything is okay with the get item. Return data get position. Okay, so we're getting the item from the data, and data is what is shown, which are the the file names. So that's one way of doing it, but there's also another way of doing it. So we will test this first, which is kind of okay because it works for what we need. Okay, so we're getting the item, but if we do this, then the name will be the whole path, so we want to make it not that long. So we're gonna go and say substring, and the beginning index will be, so the item. Okay, we will create a string right here, and the string will be called rename path. Okay, just to make stuff easier to read, so rename path. And here we will say that we will do it a bit differently, because we will say files. Okay, so this is a file, of course, at selected item index. Okay, and we say get absolute path. Okay, which is more direct, and we don't have to call the adapter, and it's just cleaner. And we set text to rename path dot substring last index, substring rename path rename path dot last index of / and that will be it, I think. Okay, so we will test if it's working, this rename thing, which is not complete, but we will just test. So we want to rename these, we long click, we click on rename, and surprisingly nothing happens. Okay, so we click on rename and nothing happens because we're not showing the dialog, okay, which is exactly what should happen. So okay, so we set text here, and we will complete this. So we're gonna go and say input that set input type, and the type of these will be input type dot type class text, as you can see right here. Then on the next line we will say rename dialog, and here we will say set view right here, and as the view we will set input. Okay, great. Now that we have set the view, the rename dialog set view, we have to set the positive button. Okay, so we're gonna say rename dialog that set positive button right here, and we'll call the title of the positive button will be, the content will be rename, or we can also do okay, but I think rename is better, more understandable. So, and comma new dialog interface that on-click listener, okay, which is detect when the user clicks on the OK or the rename or whatever the case may be. And here we're gonna say create a string s. In this string we will store the actual parent maybe. So the new name will be f dot, which is the file. Okay, is f our file right here? Let me see what's going on here. So this is rename path actually. Okay. We can do this a bit differently. For example, we have to change the name of the kind of file. So we're gonna to get the parent right here. An easy way of doing this is go in and say new file, rename path right here, and we will type dot get parent right here, get parent, and we will, this is kind of the parent of the path, and we will concatenate a forward slash and of course the new name. To get the new name we say input that get text. So, and now we have on S the new file, and here we can say file new file equals to new file S. Okay, great. And we will rename this right here. Okay. So we're gonna say new file, file, rename path right here, rename path, and we'll say dot rename to new file. Okay, and we have now our file renamed. Don't forget to end these with a semicolon. And right now we have to update this thing, so we're gonna say refresh refresh button that call on click. Now we will run the app and check if everything is working fine. Okay, so we go here and we want to rename a file, for example, images.jpg. We click on rename. We are still not showing the dialog, so we have to show the dialog. I always forget to do this. So to show the dialog, we go and say, of course, rename dialog that show. As simple as that. So that was the line that was missing because we were not showing it. Okay. We go here, long click, rename. The dialog is shown, and this says rename to images.jpg. Images renamed, I will call it. And we set this to rename. And as you can see, we have images renamed right here, and this is still selected. So we only have to unselect. We have to unselect that thing right here. To do that, we will on the refresh thing and call on click. Refresh button, and the inside the on click of it right here, we have to also set the selection to null when we are refreshing. But in this case, we will do that only when we need it. In this case, we need it on rename button. So here we say selection equals new Boolean array, and the size of the Boolean array will be current path. No. I think directory, is that correct? Or not? Dir, that length. List files or no. Maybe files that length actually. Files that length. Okay, and now we'll say text adapter 1 that set selection and selection. Hopefully this will solve a small problem that we have right here. To test that, we run the app again, and we'll rename something again. So here we go and rename this image slice.jpg, and he'll call it just to img12345. Rename it, and it renamed, and nothing is selected. So we have a new feature, which is rename. I hope you enjoy it, and I see you in the next one. Bye.